It is a privilege to stand before you today, and I want to share a truth that many of us forget in the rush of life. Sometimes, we feel lost. We feel as if the world is moving forward without us, as if everyone else knows the way but we have been left behind. You may have experienced it, those nights when your mind races and your heart feels heavy, wondering if you will ever find your purpose, or if the challenges you face are simply too great. I want you to know today, with complete certainty, that God cares about you. He sees your struggle, He knows your pain, He notices your tears, and He has not abandoned you. Life may feel confusing, chaotic, even overwhelming at times, but in the midst of all this, there is a path forward, and that path begins with awareness, courage, and faith. Today, I want to guide you through 4 powerful keynotes that will help you reclaim your sense of direction, ignite hope, and step into a life filled with purpose. Keynote No. 1. The moment you ask for guidance changes everything. Keynote No. 2. Faith is not blind, it's courage in action. Keynote No. 3. Every struggle has a hidden gift. Keynote No. 4. Your small steps lead to monumental change. Let us begin with our first keynote, because it is the heartbeat of transformation. The moment you ask for guidance changes everything. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at a crossroads, not a literal one, but a crossroads of life. You have tried to make decisions, taken steps forward, yet the path remains unclear. Every direction you choose seems uncertain, every plan seems fragile, and every outcome seems distant. In moments like these, many people feel paralyzed, they continue to drift, hoping somehow clarity will appear, hoping the fog of confusion will lift on its own. But life does not simply hand clarity to those who wait passively. It responds to those who take the bold step to ask for guidance, to reach beyond themselves and seek wisdom. Asking is the first spark that ignites change. Consider the power of asking a question, of seeking help, of surrendering the illusion that you must navigate life entirely alone. This act, though simple, has the power to change everything. It is like a seed planted in fertile soil. A seed by itself does not grow. It needs sunlight, water, nourishment, and the right conditions. Asking is the sunlight. Asking opens you to the nourishment of insight, encouragement, support, and divine guidance. It is the moment you admit, I cannot do this alone, and in that admission, you unlock potential you never knew existed. Think about the times in your own life when you were stuck, confused, or overwhelmed. Perhaps you have tried to solve problems on your own, relying solely on your knowledge, your strength, your resources, and yet, nothing seems to work. You may have felt isolated, powerless, or frustrated. But when you ask, truly ask, from the heart, you tap into a force greater than yourself. You align with wisdom that can guide your steps. You invite solutions that were previously invisible, opportunities that were hidden, people who can lift you when you cannot lift yourself. This principle works because life is not random. There is an intelligence at work in the universe, a design, a rhythm, a divine order that is constantly responding to those who are willing to seek it. But you must take the first step, the courageous step, to ask. Without asking, you remain on the sidelines, waiting for life to happen to you. With asking, you become an active participant in the unfolding of your destiny. You begin to move from being a passive observer to an empowered creator of your life. Let me tell you something Jim Rohn often emphasized: it is not what happens to us that determines our destiny, it is how we respond to what happens. And asking is the ultimate response. It is a declaration that you are willing to take control of your life, that you are willing to engage with reality, that you are willing to do whatever it takes to find clarity and direction. When you ask, you are no longer a victim of circumstance. You have taken responsibility, and responsibility is the birthplace of freedom, of progress, of transformation. Imagine, for a moment, a person facing a major decision, one that could change the course of their life. Perhaps it is a career choice, a relationship decision, a financial challenge, or a question of health or personal growth. The weight of uncertainty feels suffocating. They have weighed the options, analyzed the risks, consulted advice, and yet, the answer remains elusive. Then, they do something remarkable: they ask. They ask God, they ask a trusted mentor, they ask the universe, they ask themselves. And in that act, the energy of life begins to shift. The universe, which responds to intention and courage, begins to align circumstances, people, and opportunities that were previously unseen. The seed that was planted begins to grow, sprouting new possibilities. Asking is not a sign of weakness. It is a declaration of strength. It is courage wrapped in humility. It is the recognition that your life is too valuable, your dreams too important, to leave to chance. And when you ask, you are also practicing patience and trust. The answer may not come immediately. The clarity you seek may take time to appear. But the process has begun. The moment you ask, you set in motion a series of events, insights, and alignments that cannot be undone. You are now in a position to receive guidance, wisdom, and support that were always available, but invisible until you reached out for them. I want you to visualize this. You are walking through a dense forest, uncertain of the path, surrounded by darkness and confusion. You can stumble, fall, or wander endlessly. But the moment you ask, perhaps silently, perhaps aloud, you notice a glimmer of light, a subtle sign, a pathway illuminated just enough to take the next step. That is how guidance works. It does not always reveal the entire journey at once. It begins with a small step, a tiny glimmer of clarity, a subtle nudge that invites you forward. And if you follow that nudge, step by step, the path becomes clearer, the obstacles smaller, and the direction unmistakable. Consider every time you have asked for help, wisdom, or direction in the past. Perhaps it was a small act, asking a friend for advice, seeking guidance from a mentor, praying silently in the night. Recall how, in those moments, life responded. Solutions appeared, insights were gained, courage was renewed. That is the power of asking. It creates a ripple effect. One small, courageous act of seeking guidance can change the trajectory of your entire life, your relationships, your career, and your personal growth. And perhaps the most profound aspect of asking is the internal transformation it triggers. When you ask, you shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance, from despair to hope, from passivity to action. You acknowledge that help is available, that support exists, and that you are capable of receiving it. In that act, your perspective expands. You begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You begin to feel possibilities where you once felt dead ends. You begin to recognize your own strength, because asking requires vulnerability, courage, and trust, a combination that builds resilience and confidence. Now, imagine the ripple effect. You ask, you take action, you notice the subtle signs, you respond. Doors open, people appear, insights unfold, and life begins to move with you rather than against you. That is the power of the moment you ask for guidance. It is not simply a question, it is a declaration. It is the starting point of transformation, of hope, of purpose. Every major breakthrough, every life-changing decision, every story of success begins with someone asking. It is the spark that lights the fire of possibility. Think about the challenges you face today, the moments of uncertainty, the fears, the doubts. What if the only thing standing between you and clarity is a single, courageous question? What if everything changes the moment you decide to reach out, to seek guidance, to open your heart and mind to wisdom beyond yourself? That is the principle I want you to carry with you. The moment you ask, life begins to answer. The moment you step forward with courage, even into uncertainty, the path ahead starts to appear. The moment you surrender the illusion of control and embrace the act of asking, you tap into a power far greater than anything you could imagine, a power that has always been present, waiting for you to acknowledge it, waiting for you to take that first courageous step. Now we move to the second pillar of transformation, and this one is crucial for anyone who feels lost, overwhelmed, or uncertain about life. Faith is not blind. Faith is not merely a passive hope that things will somehow work out. Faith is courage in action. It is the willingness to take steps forward even when the path is unclear, when the outcome is uncertain, when fear whispers in your ear that you cannot succeed. Many people confuse faith with blind trust, thinking that believing means doing nothing and hoping for the best. But the reality is far more powerful. Faith is an active choice, it is a conscious decision to act in alignment with your highest values, your inner guidance, and your belief that there is something greater at work for your good. Consider the way life tests us. Life has a way of presenting challenges that seem insurmountable. Perhaps you have faced a situation where every effort seemed to fail, every plan seemed blocked, and every door seemed closed. It is in those moments that faith is tested. Faith is not about pretending everything is perfect. Faith is not about denying the struggle. Faith is about acknowledging the difficulty and deciding anyway to take action. It is about saying, I may not see the whole path, but I will take the next step, and the step after that. Think about a seed buried deep in the soil. The seed does not see the sun. The seed cannot predict the rain. Yet inside the seed is a built-in intelligence, a life force that allows it to grow, to break through the soil, and to reach the light. Faith works the same way. You may not know exactly how, when, or where your efforts will produce results, but by taking consistent, courageous action, you create the conditions for growth. Your faith becomes the energy that pushes you forward, the power that transforms uncertainty into opportunity. Imagine a young woman standing at the edge of a major life decision. Perhaps she has been rejected, overlooked, or misunderstood. Perhaps she is worried that her dreams will never materialize. In this moment, she has a choice. She can retreat in fear, or she can act with faith. Acting with faith does not mean she knows exactly what to do or that the path is easy. It means she chooses courage over fear. She chooses persistence over resignation. She chooses to move forward step by step, trusting that her effort, her clarity, and her intention will attract the guidance, people, and circumstances she needs to succeed. Jim Rohn always said, "Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better." Faith in action embodies this principle. Life will never be free of obstacles, setbacks, or challenges. Faith in action is the courage to confront them, to grow stronger, and to keep moving forward. Every great success story, every life that has overcome adversity, is built on the foundation of faith combined with courage. It is not enough to believe. You must act. You must move. You must step forward even when the way is uncertain. Now consider this. How many times have we allowed fear to stop us, even when we knew deep down that the next step was the right one? How many dreams have we let slip away because we hesitated, waited for perfect conditions, or hoped the fear would disappear on its own? Faith in action is the antidote. It teaches us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move in spite of fear. Every time you act with faith, you strengthen your courage, expand your capacity for resilience, and create momentum that cannot be stopped. Let me share a story that illustrates this. A man once faced overwhelming obstacles in his career. Every project he attempted seemed to fail, every business idea seemed blocked, and every person he trusted seemed to let him down. He could have given up. He could have surrendered to despair. But instead, he chose faith. He chose to act in spite of the setbacks. He continued to reach out to mentors, continue to learn, continue to refine his ideas. He took courageous steps every single day, no matter how small. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the tide began to turn. Doors opened that had seemed permanently closed. People appeared who could guide him. Opportunities arrived that were aligned with his purpose. And eventually, his persistence and faith led to a breakthrough that transformed his life completely. This is the power of faith in action. It is not passive. It is not wishful thinking. It is the willingness to do what is necessary, even when the odds seem against you, even when the path is uncertain, and even when failure seems likely. Faith in action requires discipline, patience, and a relentless commitment to moving forward. It requires a belief that every step, no matter how small, is building the foundation for something greater. Now, let's think about the impact of faith in our personal relationships. How often have we allowed misunderstandings, hurt feelings, or conflict to create distance between us and the people we love? Faith in action allows us to act with love, with patience, and with courage, even when reconciliation feels impossible. It allows us to extend forgiveness, reach out, and take steps toward healing. Every act of courage, guided by faith, strengthens not only our character but also the bonds we share with others. Faith in action also transforms our inner world. It shifts our perspective from helplessness to empowerment. It allows us to see challenges as opportunities for growth. It allows us to approach setbacks as lessons rather than punishments. And most importantly, it aligns us with the truth that God cares about us, that we are never truly alone, and that every step we take with courage is supported by a power far greater than ourselves. Imagine a life where faith and courage guide every decision. Each day, you rise with purpose. Each challenge is met with determination. Each setback is transformed into a stepping stone. You no longer wait for the perfect moment. You create the moment by acting with faith. You trust that every effort, every step, every risk taken in alignment with your values will yield results. You understand that your life is not a series of random events but a canvas on which your faith and courage paint the masterpiece of your destiny. Faith in action is also contagious. When others see you move forward despite fear, despite doubt, despite uncertainty, they are inspired. Your courage becomes a beacon for those around you, a reminder that challenges can be faced and overcome. You become a living example of the principle that life responds to those who act with intention, courage, and belief. And finally, faith in action teaches patience and resilience. The results may not be immediate. Success may not arrive on your timeline. But every step you take with faith builds strength, clarity, and momentum. The process itself is transformative. You grow in ways you never imagined. You develop skills, wisdom, and character that will serve you for a lifetime. And eventually, the results arrive, sometimes in ways far greater than you could have planned or imagined. So, when life feels uncertain, when challenges seem impossible, when fear whispers that you are alone or powerless, remember this: faith is not blind. Faith is courage in action. It is the force that allows you to move forward, even when the way is unclear. It is the power that transforms obstacles into opportunities. It is the energy that turns setbacks into lessons, confusion into clarity, and despair into hope. Every great life, every life of impact and fulfillment, is built on this principle: take action with faith, and the universe will respond.